War's Toll. What is this? 3 and a red for an enchantment. Whenever an opponent taps a land for mana, tap all lands that player controls. Yeah, so they just have to tap all their mana and float all their mana if they're going to use any of it. And then if a creature an opponent controls attacks, all creatures that opponent controls attacks. Ooh. Yeah, I like this. This is actually nasty. Oh, baby, yeah. 2 and a green enchantment. Any player may play a creature and enchantment spells anytime. Okay, so creatures and enchantments have flash. How do we feel about this? What's the chat's consensus on this card? Vernal Equinox. Everyone's... I mean, like, if you're in group hug, this seems cool. Divine Visitation's very good for $4. This used to be worth money. There's no way it didn't. Let me see. Yeah. Yeah, it used to be a $40 card. I'm so dumb about aspects of Magic that I don't know about. Like, and obviously that makes sense. That's how everybody is. But it is still embarrassing because I'm like, I have no idea what any format other than Commander and like maybe Sealed is like what stuff's good in. This is fantastic. Runehorn Hellkite. 5 and a red for a 5/5 flying. 5 and a red. Exile Runehorn Hellkite from your graveyard. Each player discards their hand and draws 7 cards. Ooh, I like this. Fibbletip the Lost. I think Spark Double is worth a few bucks. It's $4. Cryptghast. Being a $3 card's pretty good, I'm not gonna lie. Nadir Kraken. 1 and 2 blue for a 2/3. Whenever you draw a card, you may pay 1. If you do, put a 1/1 counter on Nadir Kraken and create. It's a Kraken that creates its tentacles. That's kind of cool. Journey of Eternity. I actually need this card. I forgot this card existed. I had one at one point. Oh my goodness. Welcome to Teneb. Lord of the Void's getting a reprint. That's really nice. That's going to drop down prices a ton. That was like a $15, $20 card before. Ooh, that art's very, very nice. Love it. Yeah, it just fixes your draws. Like, I actually think this is pretty decent. Mono green, I think it's great. Green white, I think it's great. If you're an enchantress, I think this is great. Just because it's another enchantment. If you're hitting lands, you just get more enchantments now. If your deck really cares about like specific card types, I think this is good. Like if you're in tribal, because like if you're hitting lands late game in tribal, you're like, I want to be hitting that tribe. You know what I mean? It's not bad. Cemetery Prowler's kind of cool. 1 and 2 green for a 3/4 vigilance. Whenever Cemetery Prowler enters the battlefield or attacks, exile a card from a graveyard. Spells you cast cost 1 less to cast for each card type they share with cards exiled with Cemetery Prowler. I mean, this isn't a bad card. If you have some kind of way to give evasion in your deck, like if like a sub-theme of your deck is some sort of evasion, which green, you can go Simic, you can go Golgari, you can go Sultai. You probably have a lot of ways to give evasion. That seems not bad. 4 Nox, Vanishing 4, 2 and a white. At the beginning of your pre-combat main phase, draw a card. So 3 mana, you get 4 extra draws in white. Oh, Guardian Project, $7. That's not bad, though. How do we feel about Junetune steaks? Does that sound good tonight for dinner? A couple of Junetune steaks, maybe a couple of baked potatoes? Plague Spitter. I love this card. I think I've talked about this on my daily card. If I haven't, I'm going to soon. 2 and a black for a 2/2. At the beginning of your upkeep, Plague Spitter deals 1 damage to each creature and each player. When Plague Spitter dies, Plague Spitter deals 1 damage to each creature and each player. Body count. 2 and a black for an instant. Spectacle. Draw a card for each creature that died this turn. Under your control. You may cast a spell for its spectacle cost if an opponent lost life this turn. Oh, this is so good in Aristocrats. What the heck? Oh my gosh, dude. Let me pull that annoying dude on TikTok real quick, guys. Let me pull. Come here. Come here for a second. Come here. No. And then zoom the camera really close to my face. Sorry, this almost knocked over my whole setup for that. It was worth it though. Body count's crazy in Aristocrats. That's so good. I don't think Cyclonic's gonna be sitting at 30 for much longer. I guess you can pick one up for 26. I don't know. This is one of those cards where it's like, how many reprints is it gonna take? Paradox Zone. Hello, Annie K. How are you? Paradox Zone. Oh, I love Paradox Zone. Is this underplayed? I wonder how many decks this is in. This is in 9,000 decks. Good call out, Annie. Jeez, this one's great. My brother runs this in his Coma deck and like smokes me with it every time it hits play. Yeah, 4 and a green for an enchantment. Enters the battlefield with a growth counter on it.
At the beginning of your end step, double the number of growth counters on it, then put a 0/0 green and blue fractal with X11 counters on it equal to the number of growth counters on it. Yeah, so you get a 2/2, then a 4/4, then an 8/8, then a 16/16, then a 32/32, then a 64/64. It's just like, yeah, what's up? That's fine, right? And if you have any kind of token doublers, or if you have a doubling season in play, you double the number of 1/1 counters and you double the number of tokens.
I really like You Find Some Prisoners. I think that's probably my favorite red removal spell. It can break an artifact or destroy an artifact. Or it can exile the top 3 cards off an opponent's deck. And you can spend mana as though any color. You pick one of those cards and you can play it till the end of your next turn.
Oh, Kiki Jiki's sitting at $5. That's cool. No, yeah, 433. Return target non-land permanent and each other non-land permanent with the same mana value as that permanent to its owner's hand. This seems very... like, I'm looking at it more and more, and I'm like, it can hit tokens, which is insane. Sorry, someone came in my room. Which can wipe a token deck off the table. And if you're in a blink deck, you can bounce your own stuff.
Rewards of Diversity. 2 and a white for an enchantment. Whenever an opponent plays a multicolor spell, you gain 4 life. Oh my gosh. I'm not a life gain guy, but this is a significant source of life gain.
I like this card a lot. 3 and a green for a sorcery. Search your library for a land card and put it onto the battlefield. Each opponent may search their library for a land card and put it onto the battlefield. For each opponent who searches a library this way, you get to do it again. I really like this card a lot. I think this card's great. Planar Outburst, 3 and 2 white for a sorcery. Destroy all non-land creatures, and you can awaken it for 5 and 3 white. If you cast this spell for its awaken cost, also put 4 1/1 counters on target land you control, and it becomes a 0/0 elemental with haste that's still a land. Legacy staple back in the day. Still sees fringe play, but never been in modern. Back in the day. Oh, okay. I'm an idiot, sorry. I thought you were saying back in the day in quotations because that was a card name. 2 and 2 white for an enchantment. As long as you control 7 or more enchantments, creatures you control have flying and vigilance. Whenever you cast an enchantment spell, create a white spirit cleric creature token with this creature's power and toughness are each equal to the number of spirits you control. Ooh. 2 and a black for a 3/1. When Sadistic Augur Mage dies, each player puts a card from his or her hand on the top of his or her library. Ooh, that's annoying as hell. The Circle of Loyalty. 4 and 2 white for a legendary artifact. It costs 1 less for each knight you control. Creatures you control get +1/+1. Whenever you cast a legendary spell, create a 2/2 knight. Pay 3 and a white, tap it, create a 2/2 knight with vigilance. Huh. Kind of weird that there's like 2 ways to make knights. So you're getting 3/3 knights, essentially. For a 6-drop legendary whenever you play legendaries. I mean, sure. If you're in, like, the Legends deck, sure. Spellweaver Volute. It's 3 and 2 blue. Enchant instant card... Oh, sorry. I was going to say instant or sorcery. Enchant instant card in a graveyard. Whenever you play a sorcery spell, copy the enchanted instant card. You may play the copy without paying its mana cost. If you do, remove the enchanted card from the game and attach Spellweaver Volute to another instant card in a graveyard. Spellweaver Volute's kinda cool. Harvest Season. 2 and a green for a sorcery. Search your library for up to X basic land cards, where X is the number of tapped creatures you control, and put them into the battlefield tapped. Then shuffle your library. That's, like, actually kinda decent.
Happens. No, not really. It's $2.61. I really like Unlicensed Hearse, especially in humans, when you have so many human tokens out that are probably going to be, like, 2/2s that can crew this thing. It just exiles 2 cards out of a graveyard when you tap it, or you can swing with it, and its power and toughness are equal to the number of cards exiled with it. Cruise for 2.
Barrier Breach. 2 and a green for an instant. Exile up to 3 target enchantments, and it has cycling. This is great. Suppression Field's interesting. 1 and a white for an enchantment. Activated abilities cost 2 more to activate, unless they're mana abilities. Yeah, it just seems annoying.
Ooh, Quagmire Druid's kind of cool. 2 and a black for a creature 2/2. You can pay 1 green and tap it, sack a creature, destroy target enchantment. Like, enchantments are easily probably the weirdest and most difficult thing to deal with. So that's kind of cool to have a sack outlet that deals with enchantments.
Mastermind Plume. 2 and a black for a 2/2. Whenever Mastermind Plume attacks, exile up to 1 target card from a graveyard. If an artifact card was exiled this way, create a treasure token. Whenever you cast a spell, if mana from a treasure was spent to cast it, draw a card and lose a life. Oh, yeah, that's going right into the 4-color treasure. That is so good. 4 and 2 Gruel for a 3/3. When she enters the battlefield, create 2 1/1 red and green goblins. Each red or green instant or sorcery spell cast has Conspire. As you cast a spell, you may tap 2 untapped creatures you control that share a color with it. When you do, copy it, and you may choose new targets for the copy. Ooh, Wart's really cool. I always assumed she was just Goblin Tribal, so I didn't even really give her a chance. She's really cool, actually. 2, a red, a white, and a black for an enchantment. At the beginning of combat on your turn, exile target red, white, or black creature card from your graveyard. Create a token that's a copy of that card, except it's a 1/1 and gains haste until your next turn. I really like this. This is a card that I am like super into. If this was a Obzon card, oh, the golems! I'm gonna bust out my golem skin gauntlets on them. See what they say about that. Those are actually pretty good. They get 1/0 for each equipment on them. That's actually not bad.
I think this card's great. 5 for a 6/6 trample. When Knight Paladin enters the battlefield, it does 4 damage to each opponent. Crew 1. Where I ran Knight Paladin was in my Yorion, and I ran it in there because as long as you have one other source of like blink on the table, you can constantly have the thing that blinks something else enter and then blink Yorion, and then Yorion will come back at the end step and blink everything. Everything enters, including the thing that makes something blink. Blink Yorion again, enters, everything else enters. So you can constantly have stuff blinking back and forth at the end of your turn. End of your turn, everything rotates what's blinked. I don't know if that makes sense.
Vashta Narada. 2 and a black for a 1/1 shadow indestructible. At the beginning of each end step, if a creature died that turn, put a 1/1 counter on Vashta Narada. Love this card. I actually think this is very good. In the darkness, bind them. This is sick. 2, a blue, a black, and a red for a saga. Chapter 1, 2, and 3 creates a 3/3 Wraith token with Menace, and then the ring tempts you. And then Chapter 4, for each opponent, gain control of up to 1 target creature that player controls. Untap them, then gain haste, the ring tempts you. Whoa.
Author of Shadows. 4 and a black for a 3/3. When Author of Shadows enters the battlefield, exile all cards from all opponents' graveyards. Choose a non-land card exiled this way. You may cast that card for as long as it remains exiled, and you may spend any mana to cast it. This seems very good. You remove every opponent's graveyard. Not yours. All opponents' graveyards. You just exile everything from everyone's graveyard. And then you get the best thing from all of that.
C15 looks like Chuck Norris. I'm intrigued. Oh, it does look like Chuck Norris. What the heck? She says, I'm shielded by faith, don't worry.
I was thinking, what if I had a Donnie Darko situation and a jet engine fell through my roof, okay? And at that exact same moment, a car was driving past, blaring some non-royalty free music. And my channel got removed because of the copyright strike. Would I have a case in court? And a further question, if they had deleted all of my content, like unretrievable, would I be owed some compensation? It's a real question.
Arterial Alchemy. 2 and a red for an enchantment. When Arterial Alchemy enters the battlefield, create a blood token for each opponent you have. Blood tokens you control are equipments in addition to their other types, and have equipped creature gets +2/+0 and equip for 2. Ooh, so you just get 3 equipments that just like buff up stuff for +2/+0. This is kind of cool. If you're in an equipment deck, I actually like this. You get 3 equipments.
Love Sadistic Sacrament. This is one of my favorite cards. You're a man after my heart, Brett Brown. These are some of my favorite cards to play. Sadistic Sacrament is 3 black for a sorcery with a kicker of 7. Search target player's card for up to 3 cards. Target player's library for up to 3 cards. Exile them. Then that player shuffles. If it was kicked, search your library for 13 cards and remove them. I absolutely love this card. I think even doing it for just the 3 mana can win you way more games than you realize.
How do we feel about Dust to Dust, guys? 3 mana to exile 2 artifacts? Crime Novelist. 2 and a... This is a adorable card. 2 and a red for a 1/3. Whenever you sacrifice an artifact, put a 1/1 counter on Crime Novelist and add 1 red. What? A what? This is so good. Oh, this is going in the treasure deck immediately.
3 and 2 green, roll 2 6-sided dice, return any number of cards with total mana value X from your graveyard to your hand. Oh, it does. It brings back all your lands. That's really cool.
Deathless Angel, 4 and 2 white for a 5/7 flying, pay 2 white, target creature is indestructible this turn. It's not great, but I loved this thing back in the day. I ran the hell out of this card way back.
2 blue for an instant. Surveil 2. Then choose an instant or sorcery card from your graveyard or in your graveyard. You may cast that card this turn. If that card would be put into your graveyard this turn, exile it instead. So essentially, you just get flashback on any spell in your graveyard for its mana cost. And you get to Surveil 2 first. And it's an instant.
1 and a blue for a 1/1. Pay 1 blue, tap it, discard a card from your hand. Counter target spell or ability that targets a creature. Love this. I love the Spell Shapers. I think the Spell Shapers are just very good. Like, they need to make another rotation of those. They're so cool. This one especially. That's super good protection. Boromir, Warden of the Tower. 2 and a white for a 3/3 vigilance. Whenever an opponent casts a spell, if no mana was spent to cast it, counter that spell, sacrifice Boromir. Creatures you control gain indestructible until end of turn, and the ring tempts you. Oh, man. That's gonna go into Neb, I'm sorry.
Flayer of Loyalties. 8 and 2 colorless for a 10/10. You may cast this spell, when you cast this spell, gain control of target creature until end of turn, untap that creature until end of turn. It has base power and toughness 10/10 and gains trample, annihilator 2, and haste. Oh my lord. Annihilator 2, trample. Whew.
Oath of Lieges. 1 and a white for an enchantment. At the beginning of each player's upkeep, that player chooses target player who controls more lands than they do and is their opponent. The first player may search their library for a basic land and put that onto the battlefield, then shuffle. Ooh, Oath of Lieges is actually kind of sick if you're in mono white. Well, you're saying you're using it in your 4-color list, so actually, because you can mana fix really well with this. It doesn't say a plains. You can get any basic land, so that's actually really good for mana fixing.
Order of Midnight. This seems like a sealed and like limited or a sealed format, like draft and sealed. Insane. This seems crazy in those formats. You just get a 2/2 flyer for 2. It can't block, but whatever. That brings back stuff as well if you want to play the adventure first for 1 and a black. This seems nutty if you're in like I think it's called limited, right?
Tellurian Performance. Or Telemann Performance. I always call it Tellurian for some reason. Telemann Performance is one that I run a lot. It's not great, but it's very fun. 3 and 2 blue, target opponent reveals cards from the top of their library until they reveal a creature card. Then puts all non-creature cards revealed this way into their graveyard, and then you put the creature into your into play. So if you're against like a Spellslinger deck, you can be like, I'm gonna try to mill you for a ton of cards. Or if you're against a Big Timmy deck, you can be like, I want to hit one of your biggest things off top.
Wall of Wonder.
Wall of Wonder. Eddie Trailhawk, Pouncing Kavu. Necro Savant, Kazandu Mammoth. Hieroglyphic Illumination. Sanctum Gargoyle. Seven Legion. Oh my god, dude. What if I get copyright struck? Wouldn't that be the funniest thing?
Like 3 and a black for an instant. Exile the top 3 cards of your library in a face-down pile. Then exile the top 3 cards of your library in another face-down pile. Look at the cards in each pile. Then turn a pile of your choice face up. An opponent chooses one of those piles, puts that pile into your hand, and the other into your graveyard. You lose 3 life. Oh, I'm putting this into Nebsky. Yeah, that's going in. That's going into Neb. And that's so embarrassing. Oh, that's so embarrassing. Oh, I got pizza. 3 and 2 black for a sorcery. Search your library for 2 cards. Put one into your hand, the other into your graveyard, then shuffle. It's going into Neb. Unstable Glyph Bridge. 3 and 2 white for a artifact. When Unstable Glyph Bridge enters the battlefield, if you cast it, for each player, choose a creature with power 2 or less that player controls, then destroy all creatures except the creatures chosen this way. Okay. And then craft with an artifact. Flying, whenever an opponent casts a spell during their turn, they can't attack you or a planeswalker you control this turn. Each opponent who attacked you or a planeswalker you control this turn can't cast spells. Oh, I like this card. 1 and 2 black for flying. Discard Fairy Macabre. Exile up to 2 target cards from graveyards.
So weird. Cards are so strange, dude, how fast I can go back and forth. Because in my head, I'm like, that's not very good. But then I'm like, being able to do that at instant speed with absolutely no precursor, like no one knows that's coming at all, like that'll shut down some probably some pretty big plays that happen over the course of a game. If someone's like, I'm going to use my Mnemonic Deluge to exile that target instant and copy it 3 times. You're like, actually, I'm going to discard my fairy, exile that. And it gets hit by Sun Titan, so if I put it into Neb, I can stop plays like that from happening. Have some sort of graveyard hate without it also stopping my strategy. Okay, I do kind of like it. I've turned myself around. 4th, Earlingus. X, a red and a white for a sorcery. Create X/2/2 red knight creature tokens with trample and haste. Whenever one or more creatures you control deals combat damage to one or more players this turn, you become the monarch. Oh, this is a $20 card? I don't think this is that good. 4th, Earlingus is a really strong legacy vintage card. Okay. Because I'm thinking commander. I'm like, Magister of Worth, 4 white and a black for a 4/4 flying. When Magister of Worth enters the battlefield starting with you, each player votes for Grace or Condemnation. If Grace gets more votes, each player returns each creature card from their graveyard to the battlefield. If Condemnation gets more votes or the vote is tied, destroy all creatures other than Magister of Worth. That's very good. Love this card. How is this not played more? CV, you got the best shout-outs, my guy, my dog. 10K, 10K1. Just over for the daily card. But not just over for the Teneb deck ski. 1 and a black for an artifact. You can tap it, put a soul counter on Netherborn Altar, put your commander into your hand from the command zone, then lose 3 life for each counter on Netherborn Altar. I really like this card. I don't know if this is one that'll go in Teneb, because making Teneb come back in and not cost 8 and then 10 is actually really useful. I just don't think I have enough life gain to justify running it. If you're in a life gain deck, though, or if you're in Aristocrats, this seems actually fine, because paying 3, you really don't care, you're gaining so much life, and then your commander just always cost its low cost, which Aristocrat commanders normally cost like 3, 4, 2. So just keeping that there is extremely powerful in Aristocrats, so this actually seems so good in there. Netherborn Altar exists to get Phage the Untouchable or Hakan out of the command zone. Very relatable and true.